Afternoon, vinyl community. Harris here again with another video. Just watched Southampton drop another 2 points against 10 men. Awesome total football. Feeling a little bit delicate. The old office party season has kicked in full effect. I've another 4 to go, and I'm feeling a little bit delicate. I've got to be honest. But is it did? I think, is it possible to dislike More Than Words by Extreme? I only say this because last night's festivities ended up in a karaoke bar. The Loss Adjusters, we took on ABBA's SOS, which turned into an absolute car crash and ended in tears, to be honest. But there was this girl called Shannon in the Underwriters who did a solo of Extreme's More Than Words. It was amazing, and I've been listening to it all day. I can't stop listening to it. It's like, what would you do if my heart was torn into? I know what you're thinking, Harris. Turn off that Extreme CD. You're going to get a copyright strike. No, that was me. That was me singing. That's why they call me the White Mick Hucknall around here. What a voice. But no, I just can't say. Is it possible to dislike that song? And I was looking at it. Well, the album was called Porno Graffiti. What was that about? Extreme. I've got a title for the album, lads. Yeah, go on. Porno Graffiti. Brilliant. We'll run with it. But yeah, mental. But yeah, if you are a fan of More Than Words by Extreme, don't forget to like and subscribe. More Extreme content on the way over the coming months. Probably do a video a day running up to Christmas about Extreme, with Extreme content. But I'm looking at 90s vinyl today. I've still got quite a bit. I kept buying. The UK kept vinyl going more than America. When you look at Discogs, a lot of releases they didn't get vinyl release in America, did in the UK, because probably down to the NME and Melody Maker, because they were at about 300,000 readership, all young kids in the days when vinyl was cheaper than CDs. So it kept going until realistically about 93, 94. So I've got some here. I sold a lot back to the shop, actually. I bought most of them in that shop on the front of Oasis's second album, which is called Sister Ray. I think it was Swordfish for a bit, or Selector Disc. But I literally, about a year ago, bundled up loads of my 90s stuff and just gave it back to them. And then they stuck it on the wall for about 90 quid after buying it off me for about 12 quid each. But never mind. First one up, the Breeders Pod. This is great. I bought this in 1990, day of release probably. I think all these would have been day of release. Would have bought this on the Monday. For some reason, it sort of got shuffled in the pack, and I never really listened to it. It's Kelly Deal from the Pixies, obviously. I've only just started listening to this. I mean, this would have been played once in the last 30 years until recently, and it is really, really good. Really, this should have been the third Pixies album, because as far as I'm concerned, after Doolittle, I mean, Surfer Rosa is godlike to me. Doolittle, yes, good. After that, it was a law of diminishing returns, really. As far, although I was chatting to a kid in HMV yesterday who told me he thinks the fourth Pixies album is the greatest record ever, but I think this is amazing. It's got a real demo-like quality. Steve Albini on production really helps. Just brilliant songs. It's just all brilliant. It's fantastic. Really recommend it to you. I'm sure it's done on a repress, so I'm sure you can pick it up for 15, 20 quid on a repress. But yeah, Pod by the Breeders. Next up, this is nice. This is The White Room by KLF. What can you say about KLF? Possibly the most remarkable story in pop. 2 middle-aged blokes, one of which used to be the manager of Zoo Records, or Bill Drummond founded Zoo Records in the 80s, which had Teardrop Explosion and the Bunnymen. 2 middle-aged guys realised that house music was starting to go berserk in England in the late 80s, formed an outfit called the Time Lords, who literally sampled Gary Glitter's Leader of the Gang, I think it was, and the Doctor Who theme, and got a #1 record with it. Then wrote a book called How to Have a #1 Record, which they said if you bought and didn't have a #1 record, you'd get your money back. And there was a group of people in Sweden, I think, who formed a band called Edelweiss, who followed the book's instructions to the letter, brought out a song called Call Me Edelweiss, and had a #1 record. It sold about 5 million copies around the world. Truly awful record. Then they formed the KLF, and just took over the British charts with sort of this, what they called Stadium House, like 3 a.m. Eternal, What Time Is Love, Last Train to Trans Central. They even got Tammy Wynette out of retirement to do Justified and Ancient, which was another one, #1. The video's amazing. They stick her in an ice cream van. Apparently she was baffled by the whole thing. Then they turned up at the Brit Awards, which was the equivalent of the American Grammys, won Best British Band in '92, pretended to machine gun the audience, left a dead sheep on the steps of the Royal Albert Hall afterwards. Can you imagine doing that now? Saying, we died for you or something. There's pictures of this dead sheep on the internet. They then stopped the band completely, deleted all their back catalogue, including this, which is why this now goes for about 150 quid, I think. And that was the end of the KLF until they filmed themselves going to a Scottish island and burning £1 million. And that was the end of that. So, just the great band KLF. This is a pretty good album. It's got the hit. It's overshadowed by the hits, but it's got a few good other bits and pieces. But it's blooming hard to find this now. And the album before this, Chill Out, is a surreal 40-minute ambient album they put out, which is I've got it on CD. That's impossible to get on vinyl, unless you want to pay 200 notes really. But yeah, the KLF White Room, pretty decent album. Talking of pretty decent albums, the Lemonheads, It's a Shame About Ray. This goes for a few quid now as well. This is getting reissued next year, so if you do want this, and trust me, if you're into melodic guitar pop, this is as good as it gets. I would put this above Big Star. I'd put this. I mean, I think I was transfixed by this album when I bought this in I think it's summer of '92. It's just fantastic, absolutely fantastic album. I've got the follow-up on vinyl as well, which ain't quite as good, but again, that goes for mad money. It's insane. But yeah, this is getting a repress. It's just an amazing album, I think, of melodic guitar pop. I don't think it's any better if you're looking at melodic power guitar pop. Became pretty big in the UK, the Lemonheads. Perfect for the weekly press, really. Good-looking bloke, catchy songs, college rock, I suppose you'd call. They had a top 15 hit with the dreadful cover of what was it? Because it's not on here. Mrs. Robinson. I think later copies had Mrs. Robinson tacked on. But yeah, brilliant record. Love it. Next up, Husker Du, one of my favourite bands, if not my favourite band. Bob Mould joined Creation Records, 91, 92. Creation Records were flying at the time. They were a proper indie. They had Screamadelica had just come out. My Bloody Valentine, Loveless had just come out. Teenage Fan Club's Bandwagon-esque had come out, all in about the same month. They were flying. Oasis were yet to come out, but so Bob joined Creation Records over in the UK anyway, and called himself Sugar, and brought out the album Copper Blue, which obviously I was absolutely dying to hear. And I always remember this came out on the Monday after Nirvana played the rain-soaked Reading Festival gig in front of about 50,000 people. I don't know why, because I was meant to be at that Sunday, and I didn't. I had a few issues going on, and I missed it. I didn't go. Oh, I can't believe it. But I always remember this came out on the Monday after, so I was feeling a bit down anyway, and I bought this. I kind of like this. It's never going to be as good as Husker Du as far as I'm concerned. I suppose the closest you could compare it to is something like Flip Your Wig. But the production's maybe a little bit overproduced for me, but I mean, it does have some classics on, doesn't it? The Act We Act, A Good Idea, which is their Pixies rip-off. Hoover Dam. Yeah, I don't know. I think this has been reissued, but yeah, this is my press, which I would have bought the Monday after Nirvana played Reading, which I didn't see. And yeah, great album. Next up, I mean, this is again. Talking about the Lemonheads, It's a Shame About Ray being amazing guitar pop. This is just a notch below. This is Teenage Fan Club's Grand Prix. As you can see, this is the first press that came out in Creation, which came with the title of the record on the sleeve with a 7-inch single. Now, at the time, I didn't give a monkey's. You bought a record, it immediately became worthless after you bought it back in those days. So I would have ripped the sleeve off, probably binned the 7-inch single. This is a phenomenal guitar pop record, Grand Prix. It's just all amazing. But my favourite is Don't Look Back. Don't Look Back is just fantastic. And there's a great version on YouTube where they do it. There's a 7-inch single they brought out called Teenage Club Have Lost It, and they did an acoustic version of Don't Look Back with like a glockenspiel, and yeah, absolutely brilliant. I wish I hadn't thrown the 7-inch away and I'd kept the sleeve, but it does make it a bit unique because they ain't got the title on it. But yeah, I mean, I've also got over there Bandwagon-esque I bought, which I prefer this to Bandwagon-esque by a long way. Although Bandwagon-esque is great, but this is almost perfect, I think, in terms of guitar pop. But yeah, Teenage Fan Club Grand Prix. Next up, this is a nice one. Giant Steps by the Boo Radleys. Boo Radleys, they were a classic sort of British indie band. They really fused sort of Dinosaur Jr. with with sort of shoegaze in the early days, and they brought out some cracking tracks in that vein. Really good sort of 1.5 2-minute sort of pop songs. And then they sort of started to stretch out a bit. They were a little bit ahead of their time because they did name this after the John Coltrane album, although this bears no resemblance to the John Coltrane album. It is experimental. I mean, you've got like I Hang Suspended as a track one, which sums up what they were brilliant at. I Hang Suspended is one of those classic Boo Radley's guitar pop moments, which is just brilliant. And then they went into all kinds of directions on this album, but it's always poppy. And there's just some great moments on this. This is the came out on a gatefold, and this was on Creation Records as well during that Creation Record high point. Even though the record label was losing money due to mismanagement, and then Alan McGee kind of put almost a gun to their head and said, "You've got to write a hit single for the next album." And of course they wrote "Wake Up Boo," which kind of took over Britain, and was like I think it was a top 3 hit. And it was everywhere. You still hear "Wake Up Boo" all the time. It's probably one of the catchiest songs ever. But the album it came on, which I think may have been also called "Wake Up Boo," was nowhere near as good as this. But "Wake Up Boo" must have... I mean, it was just on every day for about the whole of that Britpop summer, 94, 95. But yeah, this is the better album. Giant Steps by the Boo Radleys. Really experimental, but always poppy. And yeah, fantastic album. Next up, shifting to America. One of the last great sort of, for me, albums that came out of that sort of alternative boom. Or this just came maybe just for it. Jesus Lizard's Goat. This is another Steve Albini production. Love this. I love David Yow's vocals, which someone always describes as sounding like a hostage with gaffer tape over his mouth. But this is, to me, Albini's production masterclass. The album that came after this, I don't own, is meant to be good. I think this is great. This is absolutely cracking, this Goat by the Jesus Lizard. It's all good. There's only about 8 songs on it. It's all amazing. The production's awesome. I don't know what the represses sound like. This is a first, I think the first UK play. Look, £4 it cost me at some point, or by the looks of it. I bought this this one I would have bought second hand. So yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Next up, and this is such a nice item. Denim, back in Denim. Lawrence from Felt. This is his band. Lawrence from Felt was the biggest nutter ever. He when he formed Felt, who were a bit like the Smiths, a jangle pop band. He wanted to be a huge pop star, and his plan was to release 1 album a year in the 80s and then split up, and he did it. They did 10 albums, Felt, never became famous. So then in the early 90s he decided that he always loved like glam pop, glam rock, like the Sweet, T-Rex, Mud, the Osmonds, Gary Glitter, and this is his homage to glam rock or glam pop, and it's a brilliant album. Another one that came out on Creation, I think. Oh no, it came out on Boy's Own. Sorry, this was out on Boy's Own recordings. Really hard to find this one now, but it's brilliant. And there's maybe the greatest song of the 90s, if you want like a Britpop song, which is called The Osmonds, which is an 8-minute song about growing up in England in the 70s. And if you want to know what it was like growing up in England in the 70s, The Osmonds is brilliant. It mentions Lieutenant Pigeon, kung fu fighting, the Great Smell of Brute. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a lyrical masterclass. It's a fantastic song, The Osmonds. But the other stuff on here, Back in Denim, Fish and Chips, Middle of the Road, which not surprisingly nicks the song Middle of the Road. It's just a brilliant album. Really hard to find this as well. You don't see this around much. I think this goes for about 60, 70 quid. But yeah, absolute loon, Lawrence. I think he lives on his own. If journalists go to his house, he won't let them use his toilet, and he only eats cheese, apparently. He don't look too good. There was a documentary called Lawrence of Belgravia came out about 10 years ago, which I've never seen, but I've heard it's absolutely bonkers, this documentary, and well worth finding, so I've got to find a copy of it somewhere. And last up, this is amazing. Codeine came out on Sub Pop. Frigid Stars came out in, I think, 90 or 91. It was definitely between Bleach and Nevermind, that period of Sub Pop. And this is a bit like Slint's first album, which I've got. That came out. I've got a copy of Slint, but Spiderland, but I don't really like that. This is like the grunge Slint. Very slow. Probably not for everyone. This is so slow. It sounds like a milk float reversing through treacle. It's slow. It's slowcore. And it's brilliant. If you're going to try a track, try something like Old Things, I think, is great by Codeine. But I think it's a fantastic album, Frigid Stars. I didn't think anyone would show this on the VC, but I actually was looking at a video the other day and someone did show this. And yeah, it came out on Sub Pop around 1991. And, or even 80, yeah, maybe this was 89. So this could knock my conceit of 90s releases. I thought this was 90s, but maybe it was 89. But anyway, we roll with it, and it's a great album. Not for everyone. Maybe try it on a streaming service first. But yeah, fantastic stuff. Frigid Stars by Codeine. And I think it's brilliant. I'm sure this came out in 90, but I'm going to check that afterwards. But yeah, fantastic stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching. They're me in 90s and possible 89 releases that I've got. And I'm sure there'll be more videos later. Thank you.